Hey everyone, Music Without Tears. This video will be the first in a series I'm titling Ableton Fundamentals. And this particular one is going to be all about resampling in Ableton Live. By resampling, I'm referring to the process by which you take a clip, be it audio or MIDI, and you put it through some transformation, whether that's changing the panning, the volume, or putting it through some kind of audio effect. And then you record the output as a separate audio clip. So it's a simple technique, but I think it's foundational for composing and arranging in live. To start, I'll just show you the most basic approach for resampling, and then I'll go over what you can actually do with it. So in the most basic approach, let me just delete this. In the most basic approach, we have a clip that we want to mess with, right? I have this really basic 808 loop, but we have this clip. And so we create a new audio track. We set the audio input to be the output of that other track. We arm it, and then we just start recording. And as we record, we can mess around with any of the parameters on this clip. So let's do that. So now we have this track, right? We recorded all of that. But now what? Essentially at this point, you kind of have two different paths that are open before you. We either go back to our original clip and then repeat this process, maybe do something else to create variations, or we can use this new sound as the basis to get a completely different third sound. And either approach is valid. What I'm going to do now is I'll just do both. So I'll start first with the second approach. I'll start with this one, and then I'll go back to our original sound and see if I can make something else. So to do that, I'll add a reverb here, just to have an effect that we can play with. Whoops. There it is. Now I create a new audio track, and I set the input of this to be the output of this other track. And I'll just start recording. So that's that. We got this kind of ambient drone thing. Now let me go back to our original track and see if we can do something else with this. Maybe something a little bit more rhythmic. Similarly, I'll add a couple of effects here. Maybe an EQ, a delay, and a saturator. And I'll use our original second track here to record the output of this. Oh, whoops, let me play that. Okay, cool. So now we can take all of these together and just see what they sound like. Whatever. Pretty abstract, but you get the idea. So we've gone over the basic approach, but there are actually two other ways to do resampling in Ableton. So the first one is using the resampling input in an audio track. So let me show you that. You create a new audio track, you go to your input selector, and you can choose resampling. And what this is going to do is that instead of taking the output of a single track, it's going to take the output of your master track, which is essentially the sum of the outputs of all of your other tracks. So this is what that looks like. Let me lower these a little bit, and let me just play them and record them. Cool. So this approach is good for submixing. Essentially, when you want to treat all of your sounds together like a composite, instead of treating them individually, you can just kind of sum them all together to create this compound sound. But obviously, the con of that is that you can't separate the sounds. Like if I have this sound and I delete all the other ones, this is all I got. I can't split the sounds again. It just exists as a single unit. All right, so that was the first shortcut. The other shortcut is using freeze and flatten, which I will do on this track because we still have the reverb here. Let me actually maybe pitch this down a little bit. Make it a bit quieter. Set it full reverb. So, okay, the way that freeze and flatten works is you select a track, you right-click on the clip, and then you hit freeze. And then you right-click again, and you hit flatten. And now what that's done is it's taken the clip as it existed in that moment, you know, wherever the parameters were, if the pitch was lower, if I had made it double speed, if I had any effects on it, it takes all of that and prints it all down to audio as if we had recorded the output of this track into a separate clip. So it's a lot faster, right? That is a lot faster than when we were setting up, you know, create a new track, set the input, record it, because it's an offline process. But because it's offline, that also means that you can't do it in real time, which in my case usually means that, you know, when I'm making sounds, I'll usually be doing everything live. I will be recording and resampling things and then letting them play out, and essentially making new sounds on top of what's already playing. So I tend to not use freeze and flatten because it would mean I would have to pause my playback, freeze and flatten, and then play it again, which just kind of breaks the flow that I'm in. And then the other con of freeze and flatten is that, as you saw, I can't really change any parameters when I'm using freeze and flatten. It just is whatever it was set to when you hit freeze and flatten. You can automate it, right? Like if I were to go in and create some automation curves or whatever, it would print those in, but you can't do it manually. Anyways, to kind of conclude the video, this is just one process. It's just the technique that I use the most and that I've gotten the most mileage out of. It's particularly useful because it's a good way to kickstart tracks, right? Like, the individual quality of these clips is up for debate, but sometimes you'll make a really good collection of clips that sound really cool. And so going through this process just gives you raw material that you can work with. It's also a really good way of progressing tracks, because say these were all pretty decent clips and you have your classic Ableton 4-bar loop and you don't know what to do with them, you can just start using resampling to create variations of that. And then once you have enough variations, that can be the basis for a proper arrangement. And it can be the basis for an entire track. Regardless, I hope this video was helpful. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.